Meeting will come to order. The time is now 5:30 p.m. on Monday, December 18th, 2023. This is a regular monthly meeting of the District of Columbia's Commission on the Arts and Humanities. My name is Reggie Van Lee, Chairperson of the Commission. I am wearing a blue suit, and Commissioner Wharton tells me I should always only wear blue. Absolutely. So I'm wearing a blue suit with a white and blue shirt and a blue tie. I will now call the roll. When you hear your name, please answer present. Corps Masters Berry. Gretchen Wharton.
Present.
Kymber. Julianne.
Present.
Cicely. Chase.
Present.
Hector.
Present.
Carla. A quorum is present. This is a meeting of a public body held in open session and is governed by the Open Meetings Act. Please address any questions or complaints arising under this meeting to the Office of Open Government at opengovoffice@dc.gov. Notice of the meeting was posted in the DC Register, on the Commission's site, dcarts.dc.gov, and on the DC Office of Open Government Central Meeting Calendar at open-dc.gov. The meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format. A number of us are at the Commission's office building in Washington, DC, at 200 I Street Southeast, and a few are joining remotely using the Cisco WebEx virtual meeting platform. The meeting is being live streamed to the Commission's YouTube channel. An electronic recording of the meeting will be available for viewing online following the conclusion of the meeting. I will now read the land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from who contributed their dreams, hopes, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We stand on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank and Piscataway people. We pay respects to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events and to use such truths to guide the legacy of this Arts Commission. Is there an objection to the agenda that was previously circulated? Hearing no objection, the agenda stands as adopted. Good evening and welcome to everyone. We have an interesting meeting this evening with reports from Art Basel in Miami, Florida, and the Executive Directors Conference in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is our last meeting of the calendar year. And so happy holidays to everyone. Hope that you find time to enjoy the season in the way it's meant to be enjoyed. And we will look forward to seeing you again next year. But thank you for being here today. We have a presentation, which is our method to enjoy and consume the arts. Our grantee, Jonathan Monaghan, is here, I think. Is that correct? Yes, Ms. Monaghan, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Oh, should I begin now with the presentation?
Fine.
Great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
all right, awesome, thank you. I have a little slideshow too. So I am Jonathan Monaghan. I'm a visual artist. I've been living in DC since 2008. And so I've been living in DC for most of my art career. I'm currently in Ward 5. And I create animated video installations, and I also create prints and sculpture using digital fabrication technologies. My work has been supported by the Commission through artist fellowship programs for a few years, and also through the Art Bank. A number of my works have been acquired through the Art Bank. So this support has been invaluable into my career, into my process. I work very experimentally. I work with a lot of different types of technology, and that technology requires a lot of experimentation, and it requires a lot of resources. And so the support from the Commission has been invaluable. It's allowed me to do everything from digital stone carving, where I would go do workshops carving sculptures out of marble using digital designs that I created, And I've been able to exhibit that work in DC, shipping it all the way back from Italy, where the workshop happened. As part of an outdoor sculpture exhibition in Foggy Bottom a few years ago. And so these kinds of things, exploring new technology and figuring out how to integrate that into my art, a lot of that would not be possible without the support from the commission. So I'm very grateful for that. Recently, some other recent exhibitions include a solo exhibition at the Phillips Collection last year, where I responded to an historical artwork from that museum's collection. So I'm here. I'm exhibiting in DC, and I'm very accessible. So if anybody wants to reach out and have any other questions or talk about art, please reach out to me. I'm looking forward to connecting. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the public comment portion. We have a few individuals signed up for public comment this evening. The commission welcomes your comments. They're very important to us. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please address your remarks to the chair. Note that we will not be engaging into dialogue at this time. The purpose of the agenda item is for you, the public, to inform us, the commission, about your views. If members of the public have factual questions, staff would be glad to follow up via email. When I call your name, you may begin your comments. Starting with Mr. Joe Garcia, Young Marines. Mr. Garcia.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, hold on. Let me start my video here. All right. Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks again for taking your time to allow us to speak in front of you. I have Miss Moira McGuire also online. I don't know if she's able to go on mute, but let me introduce myself. I'm Major Garcia. I'm the unit commander of the ACKNOWLEDGEMENT Young Marines in Washington, D.C. I'm one of the youth Young Marine programs in D.C. There's two of them, two other ones other than myself. Moira, are you able to get on? Can I share my screen also?
Yes, you can.
Okay, it looks like I'm unable to, disabled for myself right now.
One moment, looks like.
Okay, there you go, I got it. All right, I don't think Moira can get on, but she'll be speaking a little bit after me.
I'm here.
You're here? Okay, go ahead, Moira. Can you introduce yourself also real quick?
Absolutely. Yep, Captain Moira McGuire. I retired from active duty service last year, and I've been working with Major Garcia and Cassie Andrews Weller to provide services to residents of the District of Columbia.
Outstanding. All right. All right, I've got here in front of me, I don't know if you see the slides here, but, you know, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but, you know, the Young Marine program is not a, it's not a tool for the military to recruit kids. It's a tool for the Marine Corps offering opportunities for youth in all over the world to stay out of the streets and to choose a better lifestyle, to stay away from drugs, and also to develop leaders in our community. So it's, you know, the community around here in DC is very tight-knit. A lot of these families have lived here for a long time. And so our mission goes out through, goes a long way. You know, we try to challenge them mentally and physically, right? And we challenge them to choose education before, you know, other than instead of going to the military. And by doing that, I try to introduce them different things. You know, with the help with of the DC Commission of the Arts and Humanities, you guys are able to introduce them to different experiences and different people, that positive people in the community. We've had, you know, we've been teaming up, like with Captain McQuire has been saying, you know, we partner up with different veterans, different college, universities, and a lot of supporters. And even with, I've seen a lot of the familiar faces in the meeting there. So it's really awesome to see how much support the Young Marine program is, and visual. A lot of people supporting us and people seeing us and hearing us. We've been doing a lot of Band-Aid workshops. We've had exhibits at the Walter Reed. We've worked on designing some artwork, awards, making Band-Aids, you name it, and using different materials. So with the help of all these artistic people in the DC area. So we also, outside of that, we do other things. We do a lot of community service. We do a lot of supporting veterans outside of doing arts. So with your support, it's really going a long way. And more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, you know, Major Garcia spends a lot of time helping our young DC residents to build tools for many things to lead responsible lives. And some of the tools that we're helping them with are using art as tools for self-awareness, for creativity, for expression, and for health. So one of the workshops that we have coming up January 6th is a paper making workshop. And you will notice that all of our workshops are actually intergenerational, right? Because we understand that when you use art for health and well-being, then you do it from the beginning to the end. It's across the lifespan. And so we have young Marines who participate. We have veterans from the Community Living Center at the DCBA. We have veterans out in the community. We have active duty service members. So it really is a very rich, diverse opportunity for all of our participants to get to know each other. We've also been asked to work on a Joseph Rosenthal Memorial for McKinley Tech High School. We've been in conversation with the executive director of the National Veterans Art Museum in Chicago, and we will be working in partnership with her to bring some exhibits, solo and group exhibits in 2024. We've done several things with Shen Arts in Virginia. And we are also looking at working with as I mentioned, the Community Living Center, but also reaching out to their integrated health and wellness services, because again, really want to reinforce that, you know, this work is teaching all of the attendees and participants that, you know, being creative and expressive are activities that aren't just nice, but they're integral to achieving health and maintaining well-being throughout your life. Do you have anything else, Joe?
No, ma'am. But again, I want to thank everyone at the District Commission of Arts and Humanities for taking the time to allow us to speak to everybody and continue to meet with us and partnering with us. And it's really, really encouraging to see that there's so much support out there for my young Marines. And all these times I've been working with them, this is the most I've ever had experience meeting with of our the leaders in our community. So it's really, really appreciative. I can't wait to partner up with more.
Well, we thank both of you for your service to our country and for your service and to the arts community here in Washington. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Marjorie Goldberg with Zenith Gallery. Marjorie. You accept the invitation so that you can join us online.
Unmute. Okay.
No, we have you. Thank you.
You got me? Can you see me?
Uh,
Yeah, now you can.
yes, yes,
I
yes.
know that because I can see myself.
Good.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Happy holidays to everybody at the Arts Commission. Thank you for doing all these wonderful parties you're doing. I love that. It's great, get everybody together and
And you show up, most importantly.
well, I do show up, and I've been known to show up and show up at a lot of things. I'm, just a quick overview of who I am. I'm a wood sculptor and furniture designer. I have a number of pieces in the art bank. I'm a recipient of uh, a grant this year, and I've had some in the past. I was an arts commissioner for a number of years, treasurer for two. I own the Zenith Gallery for the last 45 years, and I founded the Zenith Community Arts Foundation. And what we're doing now, and you've been very supportive of, which we really appreciate, we built a mobile wood shop, and we are training a new generation of carpenters at Ballou High School, and now we're starting at one more school called Luke Seymour. And these are some of the most challenged schools in the city. The Blue program is the STAY program, which is for young adults who never graduated high school. So we have students anywhere from 16 to 30. And Luke Seymour is a school where they send everybody who couldn't stay in the other schools. So we'll see what that turns out like. And actually, we might be helpful to the last person who just spoke because, they might want to have us help train some of their Marines. A couple of things. One of the things I really want you guys to reconsider is letting galleries apply to the art bank. I really do not, it was that way for decades. You're just limiting the amount of art and yes, and you did buy one from us from our nonprofit, but a lot of nonprofits out there aren't in the business of doing art. Some are, but not a lot. And Aaron and I were talking about why there's so few galleries in Washington, and you're not helping that by eliminating galleries from that process. And the answer to why there's so few galleries in Washington, I would say, is because there are more free museums in the District of Columbia than any other city in the entire world, from what I gathered. I mean, you could spend every day of the rest of your life going to the Smithsonian and you would never see anything twice. And you could go to Smithsonian programs. And so, if you want to look at art, there's endless places to look at art in the District of Columbia. What I want to do, I want to say one thing about a particular artist, a guy named Richard Hunt, who was probably the most well-known African-American sculptor in the country, who passed away in the last couple of days. Is a massive piece at the African Cultural Center Museum as you walk in the lobby. And there's a few others around town. UDC owns one. So I just thought I'd mention that if people didn't know that already, but I've had the pleasure of meeting him and working with him a little bit. So I thought I'd mention that. But I just want to say at the end of this year, I think you guys have and everybody, if not guys, men and women, have done a really good job pulling the Arts Commission together. I think it's being really well run. And I just wanted to congratulate you on doing a good job and really caring about the arts in this city. And I'm really hoping that this year we can get a 1% program actually really done in this town, and not just for the schools, but for the whole, everything built in the District of Columbia by the District of Columbia. And I'm also really, really wanting and hoping we can do, and I'm talking to a lot of council members about doing a 1% or a 0.5% program for developers. In every other major city or state in this country has one, and we don't, and I don't get it. And we really need to get one. And I don't think a developer would leave Washington because we made him put some art in his building. So I'm really hoping that your lawyers over there and there's a lot of people interested in this. So I mean, when Greensboro, North Carolina, which probably is 200,000 or 100,000 people, can have an arts program, I don't see why DC can't have one for all their buildings. And it just makes the city more uplifting. And instead of, it also balances out all the white men on horses that are all over town that, we're pretty tired of at this point. So, but again, happy holidays, happy new year. Look forward to seeing you all in the new year, and congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I was whispering to my colleagues, bragging about, I have a Richard Hunt, so I'm a huge fan of Richard Hunt's work.
Did you know?
Did I know?
Did you know that he had passed away?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Oh,
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'll show you some in my New York apartment. Galleries applying to Art Bank, though I can't officially advocate it because it needs to be discussed, but it certainly makes sense to me with what we're trying to do with this Art All Week program to help nurture gallerists in that sort of way. It seems to be logical, but that's something we will take under advisement to sort out. And the 1% program also is something that I subscribe to. So we will address both of those. We can get back to you on both of those. Yeah, we've already been looking into it, so it's on our agenda, so thank you. Now, I'm going to try to not butcher the next speaker, Guerrero, FY24 Fellowship Grantee. So please tell me, how badly did I do?
Not bad at all. I'm used to it. My
Thank
name
you.
is not super common. My name is Ielin Melgarejo. I'm a singer, actor, songwriter all my life, and I received the Artist Fellowship the last 2 years. Thank you very much. I'm grateful to be a part of a community that supports art in the way that the Commission does, and I'm also thankful for these parties that have been happening. I think that's super cool and super fun, so that we can get a chance to meet each other and that kind of thing. Thank you also for letting me speak. I appreciate that very much. I was gonna start a little timer there. So I, in particular, wanted to speak because I know that there are some changes that have been going on, and I'm sure that most of them are positive. And, change is not only inevitable, but usually good to a certain extent. So I'm excited that there will be some positive changes happening. I primarily was, I don't know what the word is to use, but it was hard to see the amount of money being given in this year's Artist Fellowship reduced quite significantly. I remember in one of the panels that I was, this was the first year that I was a panelist for the festivals, events. So that was an interesting experience to be behind the scenes, so to speak, and see how that process works, which was great. But I remember some of the staff, I believe, talking about how, the process for determining who receives grants and that kind of thing, to a certain extent, had to do with, making sure that no one was given too little money, so to speak, which I strongly do agree with. I believe there's a variety of ways that the Commission can probably figure out how to be more inclusive and bring more people into the fold, as it were, without necessarily affecting the type of grants that have been given traditionally, in particular the Artist Fellowship. Personally, I believe it should be a range between a minimum of $7,500 to the max, which I believe recently has been about $12,500. I believe that's appropriate because I believe that there are many artists who, whether they're only receiving their money from grants or other artwork that they do or not, doing any type of art is really difficult and does require quite a lot of resources. And once you're sort of in the game, and I think that the Commission has an opportunity to sort of uphold a certain standard, not only for itself, but for artists in DC. And so I think that the tradition has been a certain amount of money, and I think that maintaining that is very important, because that type of a grant is quite unusual to be able to find anywhere really. And I think that it really can have the impact of really changing an artist's life and their ability to produce certain art. So I think that that's super important. I think I'm probably near my 3-minute mark, so I don't know how much more time that I have to speak, but that was the most important point I wanted to make, just overall. So if you'd like me to, pass along the baton, as it were, to the next speaker, that's fine, or I can keep going. Oh, I can't hear you. I don't. Let me.
Oh. Now we can't hear her. That's mine. Elaine, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Oh, good, good. Our grants chair, listen carefully to your comments, and we will figure out how we address them and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Is that fair, Gretchen? Good. So thank you. Thank you very much. If my script is correct, our last, and today is from Lynn Dyson, the multimedia. Are you
Yes,
here?
sir.
Great.
How are
thank
you?
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been labeling the vineyards, you can tell from my gray beard, for over 50 years here in Washington, D.C. Started out with the D.C. Black Repertory Company, Robert Hooks, when he had his theater company here, and I moved on and formed my own organization, Multimedia Training Institute, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary. I'd like to thank the commission for its recent grants, particularly its attention to Ward 7 and 8 over the last few years. I've noticed a shift, and it's been very welcomed. We recently received a grant on your Capital Arts campaign for buildings and so forth. And we are presently turning a church, the basement of a church, into a cultural media center as a result of some of the funding we received from you in Ward 7, where it's going to be a performing arts venue. Earlier this year, we did a play on Shirley Chisholm. And starting for Black History Month, we're doing a play on Zora Neale Hurston. My point I wanted to make today was a lot of times you don't know what's going on in your ward. The left hand may not know what the right hand is doing. So I'm not sure if there's any performing venues in Ward 7. There may be. I just don't know of them right now. I know in Ward 8, we have the Anacostia Playhouse. We have the ARC. We have the Anacostia Art Center. But Ward 7, I'm not sure. And I think that's a major void. As I said, I've been around 40 years. And so we had an organization called the Cultural Cafe at the Potter's House in Adams Morgan back in the 80s and 90s. So we're renaming the church that we're going to be in the New Cultural Cafe at Studio W. We had a studio in Ward 5 some years ago. So we tied the two together. So we're creating a media art center where it's theater and media and video and all of that in our particular space in Ward 7. But we would like for the city to consider looking at housing, Department of Housing, and the commission to see how we may be able to identify some space in Ward 7, whether it's a vacant building, a vacant school, or raw land, to be able to build a major cultural center in Ward 7. I know I think one of the schools is working on some things, but I'm not sure if it's a cultural center in there. So that's the point I really wanted to make, that it's, if we look at housing in terms of, my vision was to have a space that we could put senior citizens in, or returning citizens, or the disabled, either at the top, at the bottom, and then have the cultural center in the same place. So the housing and subsidies from the federal government or the district government could help feed the debt service on the property, while the nonprofit cultural center would be able to do earn income and get grants and get brick and mortar money and add to the income of the building. So I just wanted you all to consider that. And again, thank you for having more attention to Ward 7 and 8. But I really wanted you to focus in on 7 and having a major cultural center there. And I would love to invite all of you out to our grand opening of the new space in Ward 7 when we do our play on Zora Neale Hurston in February and National Women's Month in March. To come out and see the things we're doing and how that can be expanded and scaled up to a much larger level. Again, thank you for your support for my organization in particular, but even more so, the additional attention you're giving to Ward 7 and 8 these days. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Embarrassingly, that currently we do not have Ward 7 representation on this commission, and we're trying to fix that. So if you can suggest someone from Ward 7 for the commission, we really would appreciate that, because we're trying to get a good person to come on that would represent the sort of things that you're talking about. Also know that we are going to be sending you a survey on your space needs, and we are trying to address exactly the points that you've raised. So the good news is we hear you, we're working on it, and you'll be getting a survey in particular around that. So
well,
thank you.
I may just have to throw my hat in the ring to be on the commission for Ward 7. I really want to see this happen, and I want to see a collaboration effort throughout the city and the federal government and the private sector.
You know, to push on that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our public comments. I think we can now go to the executive director report.
Thank you. Following the summary of the agencies, the following is a summary of the agency's activities and operations. Sometimes we deal with this when we have a lot of these wireless microphones. We're going to first start with some of the staff updates. The interviews for a new program analyst to assist our resource allocation officers has been completed, and we're hoping to have a candidate in place by the first of the year. Our second point is dealing with the National Assembly, the state art agencies that happened in New Mexico. This was a very interesting and enlightening experience. One of the biggest takeaways I had from this meeting was that I am not alone. A lot of times you get in these positions, you feel like there's not many people you can talk to share about some of the challenges and also some of the solutions you're looking at. Actually, as an executive director of CAH, I'm in a better position than several of my counterparts, but I also share some of their pain points. And I'll list a few. I learned from some of our other agency directors that they are operating with a budget of only $2 million or less for the entire state. CAH is fortunate to have a chief equity, inclusion, and diversity officer, while some agencies in the country are unable to even use the term diversity and/or inclusion. CAH is fortunate to have an in-house general counsel, but shares in the pains of procurement setbacks, as with every other agency in the country. I'm convinced that procurement has a secret society almost with other procurement agencies within the country. Many do not have a direct line to their top executive, whether it is the mayor or the governor. The staff and community mental wellness was of great concern. We as a country are dealing with a mental health crisis, and our grantees are looking for us in many ways to help. We're all seeking effective community advocates or advocacy groups that can help communicate the needs of the agency, but moreover, help us, the agency, understand the needs of the public even more. Those are only a few of the restrictions that other agency directors across the country are facing in their respective positions. Interestingly enough, some of the things that we have expertly executed at CAH, a few of the EDs expressed their intentions to implement in their offices. Both Michigan and Tennessee are reviewing our GAP program and have expressed plans to use it in the future. In my discussions with the other EDs, there are some suggested initiatives that I would work to establish at CAH. Next year, when we announce the grant awards, we'll be reaching out to the mayor, the council members, and commissioners who will personally call the individual or head of the organization to inform them they will be awarded a grant from CAH. And that isn't all of them, but you'll have a select few that you'll be able to call. Also, I'm considering a CAH initiative that would address the space issues. And I must say that this would probably be the third or fourth iteration, because the commissioners have been listening to the community for a number of years and have been working to address space issues under different administrations and different agency leaders. This initiative would pair grantees with the DC Building Improvement District leaders, Main Streets, and members of the Council of the District of Columbia. And we had some of that representation out at our network, our mixer we had the other night, not the party. We won't refrain from saying those words. The goal is to create a space for artists to meet and collaborate with each other, landlords, brokers, and government entities. Additionally, grantees will be presented with information explaining upcoming grant awards and future grant opportunities. This is also an opportunity for CAH grantees to learn the impact of the creative economy in the district, as well as linking them with businesses and entrepreneurs. This initiative would also be designed to assist the mayor with her revitalization efforts of making the district a bustling economic center. Winding up the New Mexico date is a dinner I attended hosted by the Mid-Atlantic Arts Foundation. I believe that the future partnership with Mid-Atlantic will allow CAH to shape arts programs that benefit both the agency and district taxpayers. Returning from New Mexico, I stopped through Boise, Idaho to meet with some musicians discussing the payment complexities they face due to the popularity of streaming content. This was a personal pain point for me because when we think of how we're offering grants to our grantees, we really want to know how effective can we really be in this particular climate. And so I learned the following. For our grantees, it takes 18 million streams annually for them to break out of the US poverty line of $14,580. 64% of professional musicians considered leaving the profession as of October 2022. Nearly 8% of every $10 paid to those who hold the rights to their music compositions is compensated to the large streaming companies. Only 12% of all revenue generated by the music industry is paid to artists. That should be 80%. Those are simply staggering statistics and not great for the thousands of musicians across the country. And I would shudder to think how actors, and then of course, as we're learning with our fine arts department and our public art department, how artists are faring in these times. Point number 3, FY24 Color the Curb School Safety Program requests for applicants, RFA. The request for applications is now live on the CAH website. The grant will remain open until December 29, 2023 at 9 p.m. The Color the Curb School Safety Program is a collaborative design and placemaking project created through a partnership with CAH, the District Department of Transportation, and DC Public Schools, DCPS. The program's goal is to increase pedestrian safety by painting ground murals and curb extensions outside or near district schools. Point 4, the Black Cat Networking Event. I want to say a thank you to everyone who here who attended the CAH Grantee Networking Event at the Black Cat. There were more than 100 people who came through for the opportunity to meet and greet local artists, members of the Council of the District of Columbia, and CAH commissioners and staff. I want to say thank you to our events team who worked very hard to make that a reality. If we can give them just a round of applause, we want to really say thank you. The next night we had something that was very special to me. It was called the Getting to Know Grants Mixer. Last week's first Getting to Know Grants Mixer was widely attended with nearly 60 artists who met with CAH grant managers and grant awardees. This event was specifically designed for those artists who have never applied for a CAH grant. And I had the opportunity to speak to several of them and encourage these artists new to CAH to apply for available grants. The last update I'm going to give is around grants, because many people who are looking at this would love to know the updates on grants and where we stand. With 1,242 grants awarded, we have now entered the period where each grant is routed and for approvals and pushed out for payments. There are some extra steps that both staff and the public must consider this year when completing the process. And I will add, and I'll say this later on, that our grants committee will also be updating you about this. From the public side, whereas last year you submitted your invoices into the old vendor portal, now you will go into DIFS and submit your invoice there. Your grant manager will contact you via the email that is on your grant agreement. And this is very important to pay attention to. It's important to note that the email on your grant agreement and the email that you've registered via DIFS may not be the same. In that instance, you would reach out to the help desk from DIFS to rectify the issue so that you are then able to submit your invoice, and this is your invoice for payment. Internally, this is my first grant experience with an award cycle from this vantage point, and I would like to update the commissioners and public on some procedures we will be implementing based upon my observations. This is an effort to make this portion of our future grant cycles more expedient and streamlined. It is important to note that CAH is currently operating on a manual paper system. Each award is individually reviewed, approved, and pushed forward for payment. The errors that are discovered are noticed during one of the 2 to 3 stages of the review process. These include expired insurance, clean hands, address mismatches, absence of EIN numbers, and other things. During these stages, the grant managers have an opportunity to use their familiarity and understanding of each awardee to help rectify most issues. And when I say this, I mean to kind of cut down on the back and forth and trying to get information in. This often consists of back and forth of emails, phone calls, and attempt to obtain proper information from grantees before CAH can push for payment. This stage is the most cumbersome, but it is a crucial part of the current process because it allows us to catch and rectify the errors on our end, making the process of payment much smoother. I've observed 3 areas I've observed 3 areas where there seemed to be a lag in the process or bottlenecks. First, the number of data forms or forms that must be scanned, printed, and placed in a folder. Second, the number of people who are required to approve and to help push the awardees toward purchase orders. And last, the payment standard operating procedures or SOPs that are understood agency-wide to prevent system failures. In my initial meetings when coming on board, the staff stated their concerns about the agency's continued use of paper, with an exorbitant amount of that paper usage involved in the grant award process. Our senior grants officers identified a few other systems that provided examples of processes that would not be belabored with paper. Meanwhile, other team members spoke with their counterparts at other agencies who have grant-making authority to identify what systems they're using that affords them the opportunity to operate in a paperless format. These concerns reiterated in our grants reassessment meeting, and our team has moved forward, taking the next steps in transitioning to a digital system. Additionally, our Office of General Counsel has been working agency-wide to codify SOPs so that we can readily identify the point in which our systems display vulnerabilities. These were not updated and or available beforehand. Ironically, while in discussions with my fellow state-art agencies, agency directors in New Mexico, I learned that some of them have faced similar issues. For future grant committee updates, our timelines will be provided to route folders routed for the necessary approvals, understanding that there will be some awardees with issues that we'll continue to work with past that date. After we've completed our SOPs and confirmed the vulnerability areas in our systems, provided solutions, and work with our chief DEIA officer to ensure any automation or streamlining will not sideline our efforts and being fair and equitable, we hope to have more efficient, hope to have a more efficient system for the public in our next award cycle. I really must point out, as we look to update and improve this system, it's really important that we ensure that all the work that we've done toward DEIA, that those who are on the margins are not negatively impacted by the updating of a system, that we figure out some type of system and digital system that will also include them to ensure that we can include accessibility as we move forward. So that is my update. Any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Questions, commissioners? And I really appreciate the last part of your comments that helped us understand at some level of detail what we're doing to make sure that the fundamental work of this organization, which is grant making, is as efficient as possible. And so that we understand that we get the money out to our grantees as quickly as possible, and the process by which they are granted the funds are equitable as well. So I thank you for that. No other questions or comments? Yes.
As part of this review of the granting process, are you looking at simply streamlining the existing sort of mechanisms that we have to ask for information? Or are you looking at wholesale change of what we're asking and that kind of thing as well? There's two very different things.
Yes, we're looking first at what is required by the government and by law for us to have so that we can actually see a grant moved all the way through. We are not granted, am I being heard? Okay, we're not granted or afforded the opportunity just to pick and choose what it is we want to have. So we must have clean hands, proof of insurance, things of that nature must be there. So we want to see first what is needed there. Second of all, understanding that although we have our grant system that the grants team uses and also the public art system use, finance is impacted by this as well as our legal system, legal department is impacted by this as well. So they will have to have input on making sure that they're able to communicate effectively, because those are the departments we call on when there's a bottleneck, there's a problem, we need to fix, we need to figure out where an answer is. They will have to answer, help us provide those answers. And then lastly, we need to look at our agencies that we talk to and partner to get the grants out the door, so that whatever system that we're utilizing here is easily compatible with whatever they're utilizing there as well. So this year, for instance, we're using diffs in a new and improved way, where we see that there's some more involvement on our end when it comes to getting purchase orders. What we have found is that once we do get some of the purchase orders created, we have a little bit more power on our end on getting the money out the door and the things pushed out to the people. So and just being very transparent as we are examining and creating SOPs. We want to see where the breakdown is in the system through each step and identify where those vulnerable spots are, and then come together as an agency with the solutions that we can best implement. And I would like to see possibly, we talked about this in the assessment meeting, possibly a pilot program happening in a sense where we do not disrupt the entire system as we've seen other agencies do with us, as we're trying to implement some solutions. So we want to be responsible about it, but we want to be able to look at the whole thing. Does that answer? Thank you. Yes.
The other thing that the grants committee is going to suggest we do is to not just have a pilot program, but to also have grantees come in and look at the pilot program and actually go through the application process and take it step by step within the agency, so that we can find out if there are any things that we aren't seeing that you're seeing. We have to talk to people that are using the system every day in order to make sure that we don't overlook some things that are happening. This has been going on for a while. We've been using paper folders for years, and I'm sure those of you who've heard me talk about it before know the frustrations we've had, but there's hope, okay? And we're at the point now where we're looking at an integrated system. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. It takes a while to integrate systems, and it takes a while to get it right. So please be patient with us. We are on it. Thank you.
On to the Finance Committee report, Kymber.
Hi,
Ryan.
good evening. Hi. Just a quick update. Everyone has sort of the Finance Committee meeting report in their packet. And so just a quick high level, if you look at the top, that first slide, you see we continue to exceed with 18% of the budget going to administrative cost and 82% of our total budget, or 37 million, right? That goes to our grants, which we're going to hear more about later. And I think just of note, we've got 5 million obligated in grants already in the fiscal year, and 90% of our available funds still remaining. Brian, anything that you want to add?
I'm sorry, your presentation was pre the slide being up, so if you could repeat so that everyone understands what you
Sure. Yes, okay, so the slide we have up right now, if you look at that, of our percentage of our total budget, 18% going to our administrative costs and 82% being allocated total to grants, with 5 million obligated, about 5 million, right, obligated in grants so far, and 90% remaining if we go to the next two slides, just in terms of percent of available budget that is remaining. There you go.
Good evening. This is Brian Allende once again. Just on the slide that we're showing right now, it's just giving you a little bit more of the detailed information with regards to the grants. And as Director Myers has already alluded to, a number of the grants are in the process and the pipeline of the approval process. And that's all I have to offer at this point. We are in tandem with the grants management team, pushing more and more every day. And so we look to have a greater report from the January meeting.
Say that it looks as it looked the last time we were together.
Yes, sir. For the
Good.
most part.
Any questions? If not, thank you, Kymber and Brian. We'll move on to grants. I'm sorry.
One thing that we would say that with the percentage that's going out, the 18% and the 82, we're doing more than what we're required to do things. Okay, just want to make sure that was reiterated to everybody.
It's spend up to 20% in things that are not grants, and we're only spending 18%. So we are doing more than was required by us, but what is needed. Gretchen, Grants Committee.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a Black female with black glasses, purple shirt, and tonight the hair's plaid. Okay, I left off with the platinum hair tonight. Okay, for the grant cycle, we are currently processing FY24 grant agreements with a new high of 1,242 awards. Once these agreements are routed, now this is going to sound as though I'm repeating what Aaron said, but I want you to get it. So we're going to try this one more time. Once these agreements are routed and received, all necessary approvals and purchase orders will be generated. A grant manager will then reach out to each grant recipient with detailed invoicing instructions. We anticipate reaching the final stage of approval, that is the awaiting final signatures, by December 29th. The Grants Department has made significant efforts to connect, inspire, and support FY24 grantees. The Office of the Chief Financial Officer launched the District Integrated Financial System, DIFS, in FY23. And to be honest with you, that threw us for a loop. The grants team has worked diligently to support the grantees in navigating the updates to the system, but with any new system, it just takes a while for all the pieces to start fitting together. There are going to be DIFS workshops that the grants team will be hosting in live chats on Tuesdays between the hours of 1:30 and 2:30 p.m. to aid grantees in navigating the new DIFS payment system. I really encourage everyone listening out there who's a potential grantee to attend one of these. It'll talk about how to register in DIFS as a new grantee, how to access the account as a returning grantee, linking banking information for payment via direct deposit, how to submit an invoice once a purchase order is established. All of these things are really critical, and please try to attend one of these workshops. The next DIFS workshop live chat will be Tuesday, December 19th. That's tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. And for more information, please contact Carrie Poliba. Her information is there on the screen. The Grant Writing 101 workshop on November 30th, our grants team facilitated an insightful Grants Writing 101 workshop for the Recording Academy DC chapter. This interactive session unpacked the intricacies of securing funding and empowered artists to tell their stories through practical strategies like grant research, budget planning, and compelling narrative techniques. This workshop will be held for the public in both January and February 2024. Friday live chats. Get ready for grant guidance. We all need grant guidance, especially with these new systems, so please try to attend. Friday live chats will resume on Friday, January 26th. Ask our team anything about the grants process, eligibility, application tips, and please visit dcarts.dc.gov. It's on the screen. Please take a screenshot of that or write it down so you know where to go. Grants revamp update. Our grants team recently convened a productive grants revamp meeting on November 16th. This meeting focused on analyzing feedback, evaluating program effectiveness, and reimagining our grant structures to better serve the needs of our community. In January, we will begin to implement key findings that came out of the meeting. One, of course, was to have a new integrated system. Well, that's been coming out of the meetings for a couple of years, but we're on it this time, folks. Additional updates will be provided during the January commission meeting. Are there any questions? Good point, Aaron just mentioned. If anyone, whether you are a grantee, potential grantee, thinking about it, if you've changed your email, you've changed your business address, please update it in the system. We won't be able to find you and the system won't be able to find you. So please update that. Try to do that by tomorrow. Give yourself a date, a due date. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Questions, comments? Let's move on to public arts. Carla and Lauren. Carla.
Good evening. Good evening. The Public Arts Committee met last Friday afternoon, and we discussed several initiatives, including engaging artists in the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. It's my understanding that a report wasn't included so I'm going to ask Lauren to give a public arts update from that meeting.
Thank you, Carla. Really appreciate it. So we did meet last Thursday, and just a few highlights. The DC Art Now exhibit sadly is ended on Friday. It was so wonderful to have such beautiful artwork, but many of those pieces are now being acquired into the collection. That's not the correct report, so I ask. Thank you. And so we do have a new that's going to be opening on January 12th, and will be the celebration of the 60th anniversary of the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So we have exciting programming for that show beginning on January 12th with an opening reception and other programming that will proceed over the next month through Black History Month, with that exhibition closing the first Friday of March. We also are really excited about having a gallery schedule now through fiscal year 25, and we'll be able to provide more information about that at our January meeting. But seems like 24 is a big year for many anniversaries that are very important to the District of Columbia. So some of our gallery programming will focus on that as well. And then I think Director Myers also mentioned that the Color the Curb application closes at the end of this month, and we're getting many exciting applications. So we're looking forward to adjudicating that and beginning our longstanding relationship with Department of Transportation and the DC Public Schools to implement those Color the Curb extensions. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Questions, comments? So moving on, some of us are very excited over the visit that some of us had to Miami at Art Basel. I'm going to ask Andrew Jacobson to give a report on that visit.
My name is Andrew Jacobson. I'm Special Assistant to the Commission on the Arts and Humanities, and I'm reporting on a recap of our team's research expedition to Miami Art Week. We went down to what is otherwise known as the Art Basel Art Fair in Miami, Florida. It was a delegation of 6 of us. We met with art world luminaries, Don and Mira Rebell, Andrew Frey, who's the Director of Real Estate and Asset Management in Miami, Florida, as well as Jessica Goldman, who's the CEO of Goldman Properties and Goldman Global Arts. And so in these key meetings, we were able to have some discussions with public officials, with private developers, as well as art world professionals to get a better understanding of what contributed to the Art Basel Art Fair landing in Miami, and then also obtaining lessons learned from them and their staff. First, in our meeting with DEI professional Claridith Landry here at the commission and myself, we met with Andrew Frey at the Director of Real Estate Building, and we were able to learn about Miami's experience. They had substantially less government involvement in the fairs and facilitation of the fairs than we had originally thought. There was not an arts commission or any other entity that had input. It was private entities like the Rubel family, the Dela Cruz family, both of whom have ties to Washington, D.C., that went and initially lobbied the company that runs Art Basel out of Switzerland and promoted Miami as a destination for art and culture. And it was that coupled with basically changing immigration patterns from Latin America, particularly Cuba, up to Miami, that influenced the success and traction of the fair. And over time, it organically grew and blossomed, and the entertainment industry, the music industry, many other industries latched onto the fair and attached themselves, as well as satellite fairs popping up around the convention center where Art Basel, the main fair, was taking place. Then we met with Jessica Goldman and her husband Scott, as well as their team at Wynwood Walls. It's a very famous graffiti art destination on the mainland side of Miami. And we went and spoke with them and got a better understanding of how that came to be. Her father was a real estate developer. He had developed properties in Philadelphia, in Soho, in New York, all over the United States. And he had a vision when he saw what was formerly a garment manufacturing area called Wynwood. And in seeing this neighborhood and seeing these warehouses, he was able to kind of visualize a destination for graffiti, for the local art scene and makers to have a home. And so he bought the real estate for about $100 a square foot and started soliciting offers of people that wanted to sell and aggregating parcels. And then they stood up a business improvement district, which is not dissimilar to what we have here in Washington, D.C. in many neighborhoods, for the Wynwood neighborhood. And he used this business improvement district to effectively create a screening process for design to ensure consistency across all of the real estate in this neighborhood that he was developing. And he lobbied local artists to come and start making murals, and then expanded that approach to include a more global presentation. And for a decade, this Wynwood Walls was freely available to the public. It became a huge tourist destination. They see about 2 to 3 million visitors a year. And since the pandemic, because of security issues in the neighborhood and basically kind of adverse things coming out of the pandemic, they decided to start making it a ticketed affair and provide their own security, but then they also stood up a gift shop and other things to complement, the art presentation. And so that was very interesting. I think the takeaways from that was just understanding the power of the business improvement districts in their locality, and then also understanding how intentional they were about curating the placemaking. Then we went and reviewed the visual arts in Washington, D.C., which Commissioner Brenza has been super generous in providing for the commission staff. And so learning about the history of art fairs in D.C., we gathered that the Washington Art Fair, which started in the mid-70s, was probably the most successful fair to take place in Washington, D.C. One of the key takeaways was the selection committee process. So again, screening for quality. And they were able to incorporate gallerists, local artists, museum professionals, to get a significant group of stakeholders to make decisions around intentional placemaking in Washington, D.C. And then lastly, the DC-CAH team went to the Rubel collection. We met with Kickstarter CEO Everett Taylor, with curator of Art Noir, Larry Osei Mensah, and a number of other arts professionals, both at the Art Basel main fair and then at some of the satellite fairs. And I think that a big takeaway from that was just figuring out what worked organically, what doesn't work. And we wanted to take some more time to compile a set of recommendations to ensure the success of a fair here. And so we plan to do a follow-up shortly and provide that both to the commission and to the public. Thank you.
You said Deidre has a question?
She is.
Oh, so Deirdre Darden has a report as well.
Hi, good evening. I'm Deirdre Darden, Public Art Coordinator, and I was part of the delegation that went down to Miami Art Week. I'm just going to give a brief report. As Andrew mentioned, Art Week Miami is an annual convening of many art fairs, the most notable being Art Basel Miami Beach. Different art programs, public art activations, and local exhibitions that all take place during the first week of December in Miami, Florida. This year, CAH sent a small group of staff from the Public Art Department events and our DEI officer to Art Week Miami on a focused fact-finding trip. While we were there, we met with key organizers, developers, artists, and local cultural institutions to explore and learn more about art fairs, both local and international, glean their best practices, and discover the possibilities for an art week in DC. Additionally, we brought back perspectives on how to support and uphold DC artists, curators, and galleries who participate in the art fair space and ecosystem. And while we were down there, members of the public art team, some of the other staff that went, we visited 4 different fairs. The main fair, Art Basel in Miami Beach, Scope, Untitled, and Prism. And DC artists were featured at booths in all of those fairs. And I want to give a special congratulations to DC artist Wesley Clark, who was awarded the Baha Mar Art Prize at Scope. And that's an esteemed honor that is bestowed on the strongest work created by a Caribbean or Afro-diasporic artist at Scope Miami Beach. We also visited 3 local art spaces and met with their organizers. Those were Wynwood Walls, the Graffiti Museum, and the Little Haiti Cultural Complex. And both at Wynwood Walls and Little Haiti Cultural Complex received special tours from the founders and directors of those spaces. We also visited 2 pop-up exhibitions, the Untangled, which was at the Good Time Hotel, and had 2 DC curators, Jarvis Dubois and Gia Harwood, and many DC artists were featured. And then also an exhibition of student work at the Cadillac Hotel, and those were from students at the Chadwick Boseman School of Fine Arts at Howard University, and also attended a special dinner honoring Dean Felicia Rashad in her last year as Dean at Howard University, and made some great reconnections with the faculty there. And lastly, DC, we hosted, CAH hosted an artist mixer for all DC artists that were traveling to Miami for all the Miami Art Week festivities at the Kimpton Hotel. And we had about 30 DC artists there for a happy hour that were really enthusiastic and happy just to, convene with their local community down in Miami. Thank you.
I will hold the discussion on Art Week DC that I have to give after I become official in being able to do that. I'm unofficial at this point, but certainly this was amazing. So I thank the staff for taking the time and going down, and I saw them running around and doing a bunch of things, and it was really, the energy is great, and we're going to do something even greater in Washington, DC. On to new business. There are 3 resolutions that we need to vote on. To some extent, these have been discussed before, but we want to do it officially by the bylaws resolutions. The resolutions are in your binder. I'll call your attention to the first one, which is to amend the July 24, 2023 resolution to authorize an expansion and extension of the Commission on the Arts and Humanities 2021 through 2023 strategic plan through the end of fiscal year 2024. So the planning process can be extended through the end of fiscal year 2024. I guess I have to get a motion to approve and then I do the vote? Good. So I will call the names, we'll go through the vote. So we're voting on the extension of the strategic plan contract deadline. Cora. Gretchen.
Yes.
Kymber.
Yes.
Julianne.
Yes.
Cecily. Chase.
Yes.
Hector.
Yes.
Carla.
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. It passes. The second resolution is on the, I'll read it, to authorize the convening of a special committee under the District of Columbia Commission on the Arts and Humanities to explore the creation of and/or partnership with a foundation to further the goals of the agency and providing additional efficiencies and resources to the creative community. Motion? Thank you. I will call the vote again. Cora? Gretchen? Kymber?
Yes.
Julianne?
Yes.
Cecily? Chase?
Yes.
Hector?
Yes.
Carla?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the third and last resolution, to authorize the convening of a special committee under the District of Columbia Commission on the Arts and Humanities to, bless you, to explore the creation of a week-long art fair tentatively named Art Week 2025 to take place in 2025. Thank you. Cora? Gretchen?
Yes.
Kymber?
Yes.
Julianne?
Yes.
Cecily? Chase?
Yes.
Hector?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we're official. So I can speak. It's official. So we will now do the special committee reports from two of the special committees we just created. And I'll start with the Art Week DC, and then we'll have Chase to talk about the foundation. So as you see, as we begin to sort of triangulate on what might this Art Week DC 2025 look like, there are at least three different sources we're going from. There's the historical information that, thank you, Julianne, for calling our attention to that book and that study that looked at that, because we don't want to redo something that didn't work before. If things have changed, fine, but let's be fully aware, eyes wide open about things we need to address. So having that insight was very helpful. The second is these series of stakeholder meetings that we're using. We've now done four.
Three.
Well, I'm looking at three.
Yeah, four. Yeah, four. Yeah,
Four basically, yeah. So we've basically done four of those, and we plan to do more as well. And great insights have come from that. And then, of course, the visit that the staff had to Art Basel in DC, in Miami rather. So we're pulling all that information to make sure that we have the wisest approach to how we might do this. The initial question was an if and why we should do it. I think we're past the if and why. I think we're the how we will do it, and as opposed to should we do it or not. The other thing is, as Andrew noted, the number of artists, DC artists that are already prominent in fairs like Art Basel is confirmation that this is something that is overdue, that the artists already on their own are voting with their feet to participate in art fairs like this. And we want to do yet more. And therefore, as we create our Art Week 2025, this is an opportunity to even be more helpful to the artists in giving them a platform, shining a light on them, helping them be commercial in the way they want to be, the prominence, et cetera. So that is what the Art Week DC 2025 aspires to be. With now being official, I will create a committee that can work to drive this through, and it'll be a committee from the commission and outside of the commission as well. There'll be a committee of people in DC, and I have people around the world, quite honestly, who would like to participate as well. In New York, friends in Paris, friends in Italy, et cetera. So we will work through, and I'll bring this to the commission to vote on. I won't just appoint people. But the intention is now that we can launch in a significant way to have a real committee to help us drive this stuff, including the recommendation we got from Art Basel that we hire a consultant to help us. And we actually have a couple of options of consultants. Some local, others, someone who has helped Art Basel themselves. And so with hiring that person, you also get the imprimatur of Art Basel because it's their person that's doing it. So we'll think through how to do this, but we're serious about it, targeting to launch this thing officially in 2025, to back into what does that mean we can do and should do in 2024, then take it from there. Questions, comments on that?
wanted to reiterate the amount of people I saw on social media who were grateful that we had a presence down there and that they were recognized by this entity in Washington, D.C. And then to also show what example we can show to other states whose art commissions are not active and presently supportive of these types of fairs. So there's a few spaces where DC can really trailblaze and uplift the people who are already participating successfully in these particular fairs. So we really, and I want to reiterate to the public that nothing is baked or pre-made. We are, every stakeholders meeting that we've had, we've taken away something. And to hear the staff report back to me from what they learned in Florida shows that there was so much more that we did not know. And I'm glad that we're not going at this without the amount of caution and the input from our stakeholders here in Washington as we need. So we really want to hear back from you. And we are so appreciative of you coming to the stakeholders meetings and participating and giving your input.
I'd like to also add that I'm very impressed with the progress we've made since the vision of Art Basel was with our chair. And, many ideas, most of the conversations that we have with ourselves, they never come to fruition. And so this is the second year that you've done that. And actually, to be honest, these other art organizations don't have what we have. We have a world-renowned, respected art, everything. Mr. Reggie Van Lee leading it. So he knows those people and they know him from years and years back. Oh, and he knows these people all over the world. So we're very fortunate that he's leading us in this and that he's using his connections and his relationships to help the District of Columbia to do something that we've never would have done before. The vision that I'm experiencing here is so much different than when I first got on the commission. And I'm kind of excited. It's like Marjorie said, we've gone to another level. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. And I do it, and I've confessed this in other meetings before, that I arrived in Washington, D.C. as a New York art bigot. And I said, New York is the center of the universe, and this little province I'm going to in D.C., and okay, I'm here, I'll make the most of it. And have discovered the burgeoning art scene here and how worthy these artists are of the attention that we're trying to give them, and how we can be yet more artist-centric as we may have been, we can be yet more artist-centric. So this is a passion that I have for people that deserve this space. And I was a starving artist at one point, so I understand. We have a number of artists in the room and certainly on the phone as well. So I'm happy to do it. But thank you. So if there's no other business, oh, I'm sorry. Chase.
Thank you. Thank you, Reggie. My name is Chase Maljano. I am a white male wearing a blue sweater and glasses. It's a pretty brief report today, seeing as the committee was just formed about 5 minutes ago.
7 minutes ago.
Who's counting? No, there have been conversations leading up to this point, obviously. I will be asking for committee memberships from people within the commission as well as people within the community. Those conversations will take place over the next month, probably a month and a half, because the holidays are going to be tricky. There also have been some enlightening sort of informal conversations around how to establish something like this and what has worked in other cities or other entities, places like the Fund for the City in New York and some other entities around here, to have try to learn some best practices. If anybody is listening in online on this and wants to share some ideas with me or voice your expression to be involved, please do email me. I think my information is on the website, on the CAH website. So I would love your thoughts as well, because this is a community effort. And so I will be having a lot more conversations with people to form the committee over the next month and a half.
Thank you. So there being no further business, the next meeting of the commission will be held Monday, January 22nd, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Everyone, please enjoy your holidays. I'll see you in the new year. The time is now 6:50 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.